Dust motes danced in a sliver of attic light. David's hands, coated gray, sifted through decaying boxes. His breath was a low hum in the quiet space. Years of searching echoed in the silence. His fingers snagged on something small, cold. His breath hitched. He pulled it free, a tarnished silver locket, tangled in faded ribbon. He knew it instantly. Sarah's 10th birthday gift. His hands trembled. Inside, not a photo, but a scrap of paper rested. Unfolded, a drawing stared back. A distorted bird Sarah often made. After 27 years, David realized this wasn't a forgotten keepsake. It was a desperate, silent message Sarah had left behind. What secrets did the strange bird symbol hide? Clutching the small, cool locket, Robert brought a magnifying glass closer, examining the strange bird symbol etched onto its surface. Sarah's distinctive drawing style was unmistakable. A familiar loop here, a specific line there. As his fingers traced the metal, a flood of vivid memories washed over him. Sarah's bright, inquisitive eyes, the sound of her infectious laughter echoing in his mind. The last time he saw her vibrant face smiling up at him. The day she disappeared replayed. A silent film reel of agonizing uncertainty that had been his constant, gnawing companion for nearly 3 decades. But now a fierce protective instinct surged within him, burning away the passive grief. This wasn't just a memento. It was a sudden, undeniable certainty that the symbol wasn't random. It was a clue, a piece the original investigation missed, a breadcrumb left by his lost child, waiting all this time to be found. But what message was Sarah trying to send? Consumed by the symbol's mystery, Robert plunged into an exhaustive search. He spent days poring over dusty town records, scanning microfiche in quiet archives, and navigating local folklore websites online. Sleep became a luxury as fragmented pieces slowly connected. His heart hammered when unsettling whispers of an abandoned structure, the old Blackwood Mill, repeatedly surfaced. It was a place infamous for strange occurrences and disappearances stretching back decades. Local legends spoke in hushed tones of the shadow collector, a shadowy figure preying on the vulnerable. Its dark work rumored to be tied to the derelict mill and marked by peculiar symbols. A cold dread settled over Robert as he recognized the chilling similarity to the mark on Sarah's locket. Could a local ghost story hold the terrifying key? The symbol, the mill, the terrifying legend of the shadow collector. The convergence felt like a cruel, chilling certainty, far too strong for mere chance. Despite the years that had passed and the official conclusion of the initial police inquiry at the site, Robert knew he had to go to Blackwood Mill. A desperate hope warred with a paralyzing fear in his gut. He prepared meticulously, his movements quiet and deliberate in the pre-dawn stillness. He gathered the essentials, a sturdy flashlight to pierce the expected gloom, provisions for the unknown duration, a versatile multi-tool, and, clutched tightly in his hand, his daughter's small silver locket. He clipped it to his belt, a tiny anchor against the rising tide of dread. As the first pale lights smeared the horizon, casting long, skeletal shadows, he stepped onto the lonely, unpaved road leading away from town. The mill loomed in his mind, a dark, silent question mark, waiting in the woods. What secrets did its decaying timbers hold about the symbol, the legend, and the truth of what happened to Sarah? The drive to Blackwood Mill became a somber pilgrimage. The familiar landscape retreated, replaced by overgrown fields and crumbling farmsteads that seemed to sigh under the weight of time. As the paved road narrowed, its surface deteriorating into cracked asphalt and loose gravel, Robert felt the isolation of the place pressing in. It reflected the mill's abandonment, a path less traveled and less cared for. Then, silhouetted against the horizon, the mill came into view. It appeared more imposing, more desolate than Robert had imagined. The structure seemed to absorb the very light around it, casting long, ominous shadows even under the morning sun. A profound sense of unease settled deep in his gut, a chill unrelated to the air. He parked the car some distance away, the remote location's silence broken only by the distant cry of a bird and the rustle of leaves in the wind. What secrets did this silent structure hold within its weathered walls? A thick, foul air assaulted Robert as he stepped across the threshold onto the mill's decaying grounds. It reeked of damp rot and stagnant water, clinging to his clothes like a shroud. Thorny brambles clawed at his trousers as he pushed toward the entrance, the mill's main door hanging open like a dark, waiting mouth. He gripped his flashlight tighter, its beam cutting a path through the absolute blackness within. Inside, dust motes danced in the light, swirling around thick cobwebs that draped like morbid decorations. The silence was profound, yet each careful step sent groans and creaks through the ancient floorboards, echoing in the vast, empty space. It felt heavy, weighted by time and a palpable sorrow. Was he truly alone in this decaying shell? Inside the towering shell of the old mill, Robert moved with careful steps, his flashlight beam a nervous tremor against the crumbling stone and skeletal shapes of rusted machinery. He swept the light methodically, searching every corner, every alcove, his heart aching with the faint hope that Sarah or someone else might have left behind another clue, perhaps connected to that strange, recurring symbol. But the main floors offered nothing but the slow, relentless march of decay. The air was thick with dust and the smell of damp rot, and the only sounds were the anxious skittering of unseen things and the mournful moan of the wind through gaping window panes. Still, a strange, insistent intuition pulled him deeper, past the obvious search areas, towards a less explored section of the mill's damp, foreboding basement. What secrets lay hidden beneath the decay? Robert descended the creaking stairs into the mill's basement. The air instantly grew colder, thick and heavy with damp earth, pressing in. His flashlight beam cut through the absolute darkness, revealing a graveyard of forgotten machinery and tangled debris. He swept the light along a rough, wet stone wall when a subtle break in the pattern caught his eye. A section slightly recessed, hidden behind a massive, overturned metal drum. A jolt of adrenaline hit. Could this be it? With straining muscles, he shoved the heavy drum aside. Behind it, a small, dark cavity appeared. Tucked within, surprisingly protected, lay a small wooden box. His heart hammered with sudden, desperate hope. He reached inside the frigid space and pulled it out. The box felt surprisingly light, warped and weathered by decades in the damp darkness. What secrets did this forgotten container hold? Prying open the stubborn lid of the wooden box took significant effort, the old wood letting out a low groan of protest before finally yielding. Inside, nestled carefully, lay a single leather-bound journal. It felt incredibly fragile in Robert's hands, its pages brittle and faded with the passage of time. His initial hope dimmed as he saw the cramped, unfamiliar script filling the pages. It clearly wasn't Sarah's handwriting. Disappointment washed over him, yet it was quickly replaced by a potent wave of curiosity about this unexpected find. Whose journal was this? Then, his gaze fell upon the faded drawing on the inside cover. There, the unique, distorted bird symbol stared back at him, the very same mark from Sarah's locket. This wasn't a random discovery. It was a direct connection, a thread linking this forgotten journal to the terrifying mystery surrounding Sarah and the Shadow Collector. What secrets did these brittle pages hold, and who entrusted them to this box? Finding a patch sheltered from the relentless rain, the dampness seeping into his clothes, but not reaching the precious journal he held. He opened the worn pages, the brittle papers smelling of dust and decay. The entries began years before Sarah vanished, written by a young woman trapped within these very walls. Her words painted a terrifying picture of captivity. She called her tormentor simply he, detailing chilling, repetitive routines. He was obsessed, she wrote, with small, personal items taken from his victims, a true collector of lost souls, confirming the local legends of the Shadow Collector. Robert's heart hammered against his ribs as the journal laid bare his manipulative methods, the constant, unsettling presence, and the crushing psychological torment endured within the mill. This wasn't just speculation. The journal confirmed the mill had been his hunting ground for years. Could these chilling accounts hold the key to Sarah's fate? As Robert delved deeper into the journal's brittle pages, a horrifying truth began to unfold. He read entries describing not being the only one held captive inside. The author wrote of fleeting glimpses of other young people in different sections, a chilling pattern suggesting abductions spanning years, maybe decades. This was the devastating twist. The Shadow Collector wasn't linked solely to Sarah's case. He was a serial perpetrator whose victims, potentially many, had vanished without their disappearances ever being connected. Sarah was just one. The sheer scale of the monster's depravity revealed in those fragile pages struck Robert with a gut-wrenching force. How many others were there, lost to time and the monster's careful planning? The final entries grew thin, the words scrawled with a shaking hand as desperation gnawed at her resolve. Hope, once a fragile flame, now flickered precariously in the suffocating dark. She knew she had to leave something behind, a sign, a whisper carried on the wind, praying someone might one day find it. In the cold, damp earth, her fingers brushed against something small and metallic. It was a locket, dropped by another soul trapped in this nightmare. She opened it, recognizing the familiar, heartbreaking symbol etched inside. It was Sarah's. A wave of profound sadness washed over her. She was not alone in her suffering. Clutching the locket, she made her decision. She would hide her journal here, with this relic of another's faded hope, a silent testament to their shared plight. Her last entry was stark, a chilling account of the floorboards creaking, the heavy footsteps approaching her hiding place, just moments before he found her. What terrifying fate awaited her then, deep within the mill's shadows? The journal's chilling entries, read within the mill's cold silence, wove a horrifying tapestry. Combined with the recurring symbol found earlier, a devastating truth became agonizingly clear. Sarah, like others, was brought here, to this terrible place, another victim claimed by the Shadow Collector. The small locket wasn't a forgotten keepsake. It was a desperate, silent message, a physical link to this location, possibly left by Sarah herself or the author documenting her final days. The decades of uncertainty, the faint flicker of hope she might still be out there, were brutally extinguished in that moment. The truth was a heartbreaking blow, confirming her suffering and probable death within these decaying walls. A cold, sharp reality after 27 years spent searching. What did this agonizing confirmation demand next? The full, crushing weight of the truth descended upon Robert. His hands trembled violently, the thin, brittle pages blurring before his eyes as the horrifying words confirmed his deepest fears. With a ragged breath that turned into a guttural cry, he dropped the journal onto the dusty floorboards. It landed with a soft thud that was instantly lost in the sudden, agonizing eruption of his grief. His body racked with silent sobs that quickly turned into raw, primal cries of anguish. He squeezed his eyes shut, picturing Sarah here, alone, terrified in the echoing darkness, her small hand surely clutching the silver locket he'd given her just weeks before. The pain was unbearable, a lifetime of suppressed grief and desperate hope erupting in this desolate, forgotten place. He wept for the stolen childhood, the lost future, the brutal, unthinkable reality of her final moments hidden within these walls. It was the devastating culmination of 27 years of agonizing uncertainty, ending in a wave of sorrow so profound it threatened to consume him entirely. How could he possibly process this soul-shattering confirmation? Slowly, Robert's sobs eased, his tear-streaked face hardened, grief crystallizing into something cold and sharp inside him. Fury, quiet but burning, replaced the ache. This monster, the Shadow Collector, would pay. Not just for Sarah, but for the journal's author and every lost soul the Collector had touched. With newfound purpose, his hands, though still trembling slightly, became steady as he carefully lifted the worn journal. He knew its weight was proof, crucial evidence against a phantom. He retrieved his phone, the camera flash documenting the hidden box, the chilling symbol marked on the wall, and page after page of damning secrets within the journal. Every click of the shutter was a silent vow for justice. But proof was only the beginning. What chilling truths lay hidden on those pages, waiting to be brought into the light? Leaving the mill behind, the oppressive silence was replaced by the low hum of the road beneath his tires. Robert drove directly to the city police station, bypassing the familiar faces of the older detectives who had overseen the initial investigation. He sought out a new generation, his posture calm, but his heart thrumming with a mixture of relief and fierce determination. He quietly presented his evidence, Sarah's worn locket, the chilling story of the symbol, and the journal found hidden at Blackwood Mill. A young detective listened intently, his brow furrowed with initial skepticism for a 27-year-old cold case. But as he read the journal's detailed account of captivity, the description of multiple victims, and saw the undeniable physical evidence from the mill, skepticism gave way to grim conviction. Recognizing the chilling potential for a serial perpetrator and the profound failures of the past, the police department officially reopened the investigation into the Shadow Collector and the Blackwood Mill disappearances, fueled by Robert's extraordinary, painful discovery. The wheels of justice, long silent, had begun to turn once more. But where would this renewed pursuit lead? The cold case file reopened. The search for the Shadow Collector began anew, sparked by a father's relentless grief and the hidden words in a forgotten journal. Robert knew, with chilling certainty, that finding the monster wouldn't bring Sarah back. The gaping wound of her loss remained, a constant dull ache in his chest. Yet, from the profound darkness, a fragile, melancholic hope emerged. It was the hope for justice, a silent promise whispered across decades by Sarah's message in the locket, now amplified by the journal's author and potentially others. This rekindled pursuit was a sobering testament to the enduring power of love and memory, proof that even the smallest, seemingly insignificant clue could pierce through years of silence, offering a chance for truth, however painful. The Shadow Collector was still out there, a ghost in the shadows, but the chase was on. It was a quest for justice, born from tragedy, fueled by a father's enduring love. The investigation that had haunted Robert for years was now officially active again, focused on a man who had vanished like smoke, but whose cruelty echoed through hidden messages and buried pain. Though the ultimate capture of the Shadow Collector remained uncertain, a path had been illuminated by those he had silenced. It was a powerful, albeit tragic reminder that evil often hides in plain sight, and that the fight for justice, though long and arduous, could draw strength from the deepest wells of human connection and the refusal to forget. The search for the man who took Sarah continues, but when faced with such devastating loss and years of silence, where do we truly find the strength to keep searching for justice? Share your thoughts below.